Sharks live in the same water as surfers, some of them are apex predators, and yet actual attacks stay extremely rare compared with the number of surf sessions. That gap between fear and reality is the whole story, because movies train people to expect hunting, while science points more toward confusion, overlap, and investigation. In 2025, one major international database confirmed only 65 unprovoked shark bites worldwide, which is close to the recent 5-year average. Surfers and other board sport users made up about 32% of those cases, while swimmers and waders made up an even bigger share. So surfers are a visible risk group, but the bigger point is how tiny that number is next to the huge amount of time people spend in the ocean. Millions of surf sessions happen without incident, and that missing headline is why public fear becomes much larger than the actual statistical risk. Today we are breaking down why sharks almost never attack surfers, what happens when bites do occur, and why the real science is less dramatic than people think. The first answer starts with exposure, because surfers spend long periods sitting and paddling in places where sharks naturally travel. They are often beyond the shore break, sometimes in deeper water, and sometimes out at dawn or dusk when certain shark species feed more actively. That sounds dangerous, and it does create overlap, but overlap by itself is not the same thing as a predator choosing humans as preferred prey. The ocean is full of creatures sharks already know how to eat, and humans are not high on that list. The classic explanation for surfer bites is the mistaken identity theory, and it is still one of the best known ideas in shark science. From below the surface, a surfer paddling on a board can create a dark outline that may resemble a seal or sea lion more than people expect. That matters especially for large predatory species such as white sharks, which often hunt marine mammals in certain coastal regions. Low visibility, side lighting, wave chop, and a quick glance from underneath can make the silhouette even harder to read clearly. Some experimental work using shark vision models supports this idea, showing that the outline of a surfer can look prey-like from below. But that is not the whole story, because some researchers think mistaken identity is too simple if we use it as the only explanation. A shark does not use vision alone like a person looking at one frozen picture. It also uses smell, hearing, vibration, and electroreception. The lateral line system helps sharks detect pressure changes and movement in the water, even when vision is limited. Electroreception helps them sense bioelectric signals from living creatures, adding another layer beyond simple shape matching. So a shark may approach because something seems unusual, vulnerable, or worth checking, not only because it fully believes the surfer is a seal. That is where the idea of exploratory behavior becomes important, because some bites may be investigatory rather than pure visual confusion. A shark might test a target once, gather information fast, and then decide the object is not worth continuing to pursue. This is one reason many serious shark incidents are single-bite events instead of long feeding attacks. That detail matters a lot, because one bite from a large shark can still be catastrophic, but biologically it tells a different story. If the shark bites once and leaves, the event looks less like intentional human hunting and more like misclassification or rapid rejection. Humans are also not ideal prey from an energy point of view, and predators care a lot about energy. Seals and sea lions are rich in fat, built like strong energy packages, and far more rewarding for a big shark than a bony human. A person in a wetsuit may look uncertain from far below, but after contact, the nutritional payoff often does not justify continuing the event. That is one of the least sensational but most important facts in this whole subject. Humans are not standard menu items. Another reason attacks stay uncommon is that sharks are not mindless machines looking for any moving body in the water. Predators weigh risk and reward, and even a large shark can be injured by struggling prey or by hitting unfamiliar hard objects. A surfboard is an awkward target, and a human lying on one does not move like a seal once the shark gets close enough. Much of shark behavior is conservative, not reckless, which means many encounters end with the shark avoiding the target entirely. That helps explain why a shark's presence does not automatically mean an attack is likely, even in places with known shark populations. Species also matter a lot because not every shark behaves the same way in the same habitat. White sharks are linked to many severe bites on surfers in areas where seals and sea lions are common. Tiger sharks are more generalist feeders and can be involved in bites in warmer tropical waters. Bull sharks deserve special attention because they tolerate shallow, murky water and often occur near river mouths and estuaries. That means the same surfer behavior can carry very different risk depending on where they paddle out and which species dominate that coastline. Geography is not a side detail here. It is one of the main reasons risk feels different from one beach to another. Murky water is another major factor because reduced visibility makes sensory certainty harder for both animals and humans. Runoff, stirred up sand, heavy surf, and river mouths can all turn the water cloudy and raise the chance of a bad interaction. Fishing activity matters too, because bait fish, discarded catch, and feeding frenzies can pull sharks toward the exact places people want to surf. If seabirds are diving hard, fish schools are packed tightly, and bait balls are visible, that is a real clue that the food chain is active. A real safety expert takes those signs seriously because they raise encounter risk in a practical, immediate way. Surfing alone is also riskier than surfing near others, not because groups scare sharks away every time, but because response and rescue matter. Low light periods like sunrise, sunset, and heavily overcast conditions can also make the environment harder to read. Public fear gets amplified because a shark attack is visual, emotional, and instantly shareable, while safe surf sessions create no headline at all. That is a classic perception trap. The rare dramatic event gets repeated over and over, while millions of calm outcomes remain invisible. The brain then starts to feel as if sharks are waiting under every board, even though the global numbers say otherwise. This is why the phrase almost never should be understood statistically, not emotionally. For a victim, one bite is life-changing or even fatal, but for the whole surfing population, the event remains extraordinarily uncommon. That balanced view is the only honest one, because pretending attacks never happen would be silly, but pretending they are common is also false. There is another movie myth worth clearing up. Blood in the water does not create an instant feeding frenzy the way films suggest. Sharks can detect some chemical cues at very low levels, but a bite event usually depends on many environmental and behavioral factors together. The presence of one shark does not mean it is ready to attack, and the smell of blood alone does not guarantee some cinematic nightmare. Most sharks encountered by divers, swimmers, and surfers never bite anyone at all. That simple sentence is easy to forget, because the public imagination often treats every shark sighting as the start of an attack scene. The real science gives us a calmer picture. Sharks share habitat with surfers, but humans are not favored prey, and many bites seem investigatory. The mistaken identity idea still has value, especially in places where large white sharks hunt marine mammals from below. But the full explanation is broader, because sharks combine vision with smell, vibration sensing, hearing, and electroreception before making decisions. That broader picture explains why bites remain rare despite all the overlap, because many approaches end with rejection long before contact happens. It also explains why a surfer can be in shark habitat for years without ever having a dangerous encounter. The shark may notice the board, inspect from a distance, reject the target, and move on without the person even knowing it happened. That hidden non-event is probably one of the most common shark stories in the ocean, and it never gets told. If you want the real answer in one line, sharks almost never attack surfers because surfers are often the wrong target, in the wrong shape, with the wrong reward. Add in the fact that predators are careful, many habitats only overlap imperfectly, and global bite numbers stay low, and the picture becomes much clearer. Real risk still exists, especially in murky water, near river mouths, around baitfish activity, or near seal colonies where white sharks hunt. That is why the smartest mindset is respect, not panic, because respect pays attention to species, place, light, water clarity, and local feeding signs. Panic, on the other hand, makes every shadow look like a guaranteed attack, and the data simply does not support that fear. A serious surfer understands both truths at once. The ocean is wild and powerful, and shark bites remain rare compared with the number of people surfing. That balance is what the science supports better than either extreme story, not harmless dolphins in disguise, and not monsters hunting every board. Sharks are efficient animals making sensory judgments in a complex environment, and humans usually fail those judgments as worthwhile prey. When bites do happen, they are often better explained by confusion, investigation, environmental overlap, and species-specific behavior than by simple aggression. That answer may be less cinematic than the movie version, but it matches the evidence far better than fear does. So the next time a headline makes it sound like surfers are constantly dodging attacks, remember the numbers: 65 unprovoked bites worldwide in one recent year. Remember too that millions of sessions passed without incident, and that absence of drama is the real background of ocean life. The ocean deserves caution because risk is real, but the public image of sharks is still much darker than the actual pattern found in the data. There is also an important lesson in how humans remember danger, because our minds save dramatic images much more strongly than ordinary safe outcomes. One attack video can spread for years, while 10,000 uneventful paddles vanish because nothing shocking happened for the camera to capture. That memory bias can make surfers feel they are taking part in a constant lottery, even when the real odds remain very low. It also pushes people towards simple stories like sharks hate surfers, when the evidence keeps pointing back to overlap and misreading instead. The board itself adds to that confusion because a person lying flat and paddling with arms creates a shape that is not normal human walking or swimming. From below, the moving outline can briefly resemble familiar prey more than a standing person at the shoreline ever could. Even then, the shark still has to approach, assess, and decide, and most of those decisions appear to end without a bite. That invisible rejection is one of the strongest reasons the global total stays small, despite the huge number of humans entering shark habitat every year. So the smartest way to think about sharks and surfers is not hatred or bloodlust, but a chain of sensory checks that usually ends with no attack. That chain can fail in rare conditions, which is why local warnings, water clarity, feeding signs, and species knowledge matter so much. When people understand that chain, the ocean becomes easier to respect intelligently instead of fearing blindly. That intelligent respect is why local shark advice focuses on conditions instead of superstition, because conditions shape what sensory information sharks receive. Clean water, bright light, and low fish activity give the whole scene a very different risk profile than murky runoff and a packed bait zone. The same surfer on the same board can therefore face very different odds on different days without changing anything about the person's courage. That is another reason simple monster stories fail, because real shark risk is ecological, not personal. The shark is responding to habitat, prey signals, visibility, and species behavior, not holding some special hatred for surfers as a group. Once you see that, the ocean stops looking like a horror set and starts looking like a place where context matters more than panic. You still respect river mouths, seal haul-outs, low light sessions, and heavy fish activity, because those are real overlap clues. But you also stop assuming every fin means an attack is seconds away, because most encounters never reach that point. That balance between caution and evidence is the healthiest way to understand a predator that humans have dramatized for decades. It keeps the real warning signs visible without turning every wave into a fantasy about instant attack. And it reminds us that rare danger and constant danger are not the same thing, even when fear makes them feel identical. If you want more simple science stories that cut through hype with real evidence, subscribe and watch the next video, because the wild world is often stranger and calmer than headlines suggest.